新婚姻法下，婚姻里的财产与责任被重新审视，而女性的生育代价也需要得到应有的重视。怎么婚前的子宫你们家要用，但是你们家的婚前财产就是不能碰，只要一提就是缺德，这公平吗？女人就不敢提财产的事儿，一提呢就是捞女，怎么子宫不可以看成女人的婚前财产吗？所有的男方都要防止女人要钱，但是所有的男方家庭都要求女方生孩子为男方传宗接代，而且生了孩子还要冠以男方的姓，这又是什么道理？并且使用子宫并不是一次性了结，后期有大量的显性和隐性的成本，怀孕、生娃、奶娃、早期陪伴，妈妈们至少5年的时间没有办法参与社会竞争。
It seems that the new marriage law has been implemented, starting from February 1st, 2025, and it has sparked widespread attention. One of the most significant changes is the major adjustment in how property is divided after a divorce. In the past, if a man purchased a property and added his wife's name to the deed after marriage, the man would typically have to divide the property equally with the wife according to the law. However, under the new marriage law, property ownership is much clearer. Whoever pays for it owns it. Whether or not the spouse's name is added after marriage no longer affects the property rights. This change has made it impossible for some women who were trying to take financial advantage of marriage by exploiting legal loopholes, leading to strong reactions from them, even resulting in various emotional statements posted online. Faced with this situation, some women have started using the uterus as a point of debate, attempting to emphasize the unique value of women in the process of reproduction. However, this viewpoint has obvious flaws. Reproduction is not solely the contribution of women. The sperm provided by men is equally essential. If we purely measure value by the uterus, then should men's sperm also receive financial compensation? In fact, many women who choose to have children without marriage still need to purchase sperm from sperm banks, which is itself a transactional act. This indicates that the value of reproduction is not a capital that women possess exclusively, but rather the result of cooperation between both men and women. Therefore, using the uterus as a tool to gain benefits is essentially objectifying oneself. Furthermore, there is a saying that women have children for men, but this perspective is equally untenable. Children belong to both the mother and the father, and ultimately, they are the joint descendants of both parents. Some women insist that children should take the father's surname after birth. Is this unfair? Well, then the child could take your surname instead. But in that case, please give the man a 388,000 yuan betrothal gift, and he will gladly take your surname. These women often claim that the betrothal gift is an ancient Chinese custom. But then, giving the child the father's surname is also a custom that has lasted for thousands of years in China. So, I can only say that any woman who holds this kind of mindset, first and foremost, has a transactional way of thinking. She constantly talks about how women are discriminated against, but in reality, the ones who discriminate against them are themselves. Secondly, they have no emotional foundation whatsoever. The reason men and women date and marry is based on an emotional connection, and the child born from that union is the fruit of love. But nowadays, many women often say that children are born for men. This shows that they have no emotional attachment to the relationship. Instead, their minds are full of calculations and self-interest. Looking around, we see that many women in today's society think this way, and it is truly sad and frightening. So, how can we judge whether a woman's mind is full of transactional thinking, full of calculations about gain and loss? You can see this right from the beginning of the relationship. If a woman, when dating you, expects you to spend money while she is unwilling or rarely spends money herself, it shows that her mind is full of transactional thinking and calculations. Because a woman who truly loves you, whether she has money or not, would willingly spend it on you. That is human nature. Therefore, I have always emphasized that the reason so many women have improper views is not only because of the poisonous online content brainwashing them, but also because many men, including ourselves, are guilty of treating relationships as transactions. Many men think that in order to please women, they have to spend money on them, as if it is natural for men to unilaterally give money to women. It is because of this mindset among men that women believe men should spend money on them. That is why they believe their uterus should be exchanged for money, Do you understand? So, in order to change the current situation, in addition to the new marriage law, every man must start with himself. First, when dating, money should be exchanged in a balanced way. Second, when getting married, there should be no high bride price, and certainly no handing over of salary cards. Everyone should contribute to the family and marriage. Both men and women should earn money and work together to build the family. Because only when a woman contributes will she truly cherish you, cherish the relationship, and cherish the marriage. So, to all the brothers watching, have you learned this?
新的民法典出来了 ,2025 年2月1号正式生效。
Starting from February 1st, 2025, the new civil code officially comes into effect, bringing major changes to marriage laws. The most important change is that marriage no longer requires consideration of the other person's property, car, savings, or even family background. All of this no longer matters to you. The new law clearly defines the boundaries of marital property. Property owned individually before marriage remains individual property after marriage and will not become joint property due to marriage. In the past, it was common for people to get divorced shortly after marriage and for property, like a house, to be split evenly. Such situations will no longer happen. At the same time, there are clear legal regulations on the distribution of common property, common income, and common debt after marriage. The division of joint property in case of divorce will be based on these terms, rather than being done arbitrarily. This change allows the essence of love to return. When people get married, they no longer need to worry about the other person's financial condition or family background. The previous idea that women should look for wealthy men as a criterion for choosing a partner may be challenged. The new law emphasizes that marriage should be based on love, not economic interests. Therefore, if you choose to marry, you should consider more about the feelings between the two people, their mutual understanding, and their desire to live together, rather than the other person's wealth or social status. As a result, the meaning of marriage becomes purer, and property distribution during divorce is more fair and reasonable, avoiding many of the unfair phenomena from the past. In summary, the new civil code has changed traditional ideas. Marriage is no longer an exchange of interests, but a contract of hearts between two people. In the past, many women often said that they must marry a wealthy man. Now that the new civil code has been implemented, this idea of seeking a wealthy man should be less relevant, right? So, what kind of man should a woman marry now?
5年的2月1日起，那么全新的民法典婚姻
Starting from February 1st, 2025, the second judicial interpretation of the marriage and family section of the Civil Code will officially come into effect. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I'll provide a preliminary interpretation of several key issues that people are most concerned about, to help you respond to various problems and challenges with solid reasoning and evidence when facing these situations. There are 3 particular points that need to be highlighted, and I will explain them in detail below. First, fake divorce may turn into a real divorce. In the past, some couples, for reasons such as obtaining license plates or purchasing real estate, chose to go through a fake divorce, and later used this method to manipulate their interests. The new law clearly stipulates that once a fake divorce occurs, if the couple wishes to restore their marriage for some reason after the divorce, the court will no longer support this request. In other words, once a fake divorce happens, the consequences are very serious, and the law will no longer tolerate such operations. The second point is that if someone adds another person's name to their property, it will not easily change the ownership. For instance, if one party adds the other person's name to their property before or during the marriage in the past, it was usually the case that the property would be divided equally between the parties during a divorce, with the wife typically receiving half. However, under the new civil code, if the marriage has been relatively short and the original property owner is not at fault, the court will generally rule that the property should belong entirely to the original owner. This means that simply adding a name during the marriage will not easily change the ownership of the property, especially when there is no legal basis or special fault involved. The property will still belong to the original owner. The third point clarifies the ownership of property purchased with the parents' funds. If the property was purchased with the parents' money, the property will still belong to the parent who contributed the funds. If both parents contributed, the property will be distributed based on their respective contributions. Additionally, the court will consider other factors during the marriage, such as each party's contribution, faults, and other relevant factors, to make a fair balance and compensation. From a societal perspective, marriage should ideally be a sacred contract, representing the emotions and commitments of two individuals. However, over time, marriage has sometimes become a tool for some people to gain economic benefits, which has led to the law constantly adjusting to maintain basic fairness and justice. I hope that each person has the ability to make their marriage a pure commitment of love, rather than entering the institution of marriage for other purposes.
姐妹们，你看了吗？今年颁布的最新婚姻法真的是进一步推进了女性的觉醒。
Ladies, have you all seen the new marriage law enacted this year? Many people believe that this is another step forward for the awakening of women. After reading the new marriage law carefully, I believe that the property distribution is very reasonable. It effectively prevents some men from focusing on women's bodies in marriage, as well as some women from focusing on men's wallets. The most important change is that the division of property between couples has become much clearer. My money is mine, your money is yours. Even if one adds the other person's name to a property after marriage, the property will still be considered premarital property. If the property is purchased by the parents, it will be regarded as a gift and belong to the child of the gift giver, not to the couple's shared property. Therefore, this type of property still belongs to the individual, not to the couple. I personally support this new marriage law because it promotes the idea of earn and spend individually. Both parties in a marriage should work hard for themselves and ensure their own financial independence. Many young women may feel that they should depend on men, often saying, "You earn the money and support the family, and I'll look pretty." But in reality, the new marriage law protects the one who contributes more financially. The law doesn't care about how much you contribute to the family, whether you take care of the family, sacrifice your youth, do housework, or even have children. These are not the focus of the law. What matters is who contributes more financially. This new marriage law helps further promote women's independence. It sends an important message to all women: you need to learn to rely on yourself, not on others. I believe that in the near future, many young girls will aim to buy their own house before marriage, and the age at which people marry will be delayed. The saying "it's better to marry well than to do well" has lost its shine in the face of the new marriage law. In fact, this law forces women to grow and encourages some housewives to step out of the home and into society. In the future, marriage will no longer be about whether the other person has a house or a car, but rather about whether they have the financial strength and whether they are willing to spend money on you. If the other person is unwilling to spend money on you, then his money is still his own, and women will not be able to share his wealth even after marriage. For married women, from now on, I think you should no longer worry about how to save money for your husband. Instead, spend the money you deserve, spend it happily for yourself. For those sisters who have not yet married, since we can't rely on men to buy us a house, find a man who is at least 1.8 meters tall, handsome, smart, capable, and with high emotional value. After all, marriage is an experience. Since we can't depend on men's money anymore, let's look for men with high emotional value, good looks, and height. If you want children, at least he should have good genes. Sisters, hurry up and work hard. The future belongs to us.
从今年开始，普通男人想结婚变得更难了。
Since this year, it has become more difficult for average men to get married, especially for men like me who are short, unattractive, and not very smart. This is because the new Civil Code marriage law officially came into effect on February 1st. It clearly defines what constitutes marital property, and what belongs to whom before marriage, and remains the same after marriage. In the past, for example, if a man owned a house before marriage and the woman married him, if they got divorced, the woman could still claim a certain proportion of the house. However, this will no longer be the case. Now, whatever property or real estate a man has before marriage, it has no relation to the woman. Now the problem arises. Since the woman's interests are no longer tied to the man's property, why would a woman still want to marry a man who is short, unattractive, and not very smart? Women will definitely be looking for taller, better-looking, and more humorous men, right? This goes back to our biological instincts. Genes determine marriage. For men like us, who are short, unattractive, and not very bright, no matter how hard we work to earn money, we will eventually be eliminated. However, this is actually very beneficial for the Chinese nation. If things continue this way for several generations, the genetic quality of the Chinese people will significantly improve.
The children born in the future will grow up to be taller, more handsome, and smarter.
I believe the new marriage law may cause a lot of concern for all women, especially those who rely on married life or, in some cases, depend on the economic security provided by their marriage. Clearly, the introduction of this new law is primarily aimed at those who use marriage fraudulently to gain improper benefits. One could say that this law has struck a blow against dishonest women, but we also have to consider that laws are not only made based on rational decisions but also need to take into account human factors. For example, many virtuous women's contributions in marriage, especially in the management and maintenance of the household, are often difficult to fully quantify with numbers or legal terms. These contributions are reflected both emotionally and in actual housework. The current marriage law does not have clear provisions to measure this contribution, nor does it offer a detailed explanation or clear standards to protect the rights of these women. The law can at most offer some form of economic compensation, but whether this compensation can fully reflect their hard work in the family remains an unresolved issue. Moreover, it is worth noting that many women in families who are indeed virtuous also bear a heavy economic burden. The enactment of this new marriage law is certainly necessary to combat harmful practices such as gold diggers and other unseemly women. However, a shortcoming of this law is that it evidently does not fully take into account the group of virtuous and kind women who sincerely dedicate themselves to their families. The existing legal provisions are broad and lack specific measures. Therefore, it is important to monitor whether new laws or supplementary clauses will be introduced in the future to further clarify and safeguard women's economic independence and rights within marriage. Do you agree with my viewpoint? Feel free to leave your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us, and we will continue to provide you with better content. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.